Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Midlands African Chamber's Power Hour Business Development Virtual Live Stream, proudly presented by Google. My name is Chelsea Achampong, the Programs Coordinator here at MAC, and I will be your host today. Today's Power Hour, titled Contracting with the City of Omaha as a Small Business, will explore how small businesses can better compete for contracts through the city's Small and Emerging Business Program. Tonight's session will include training, resources, and practical guidance for working with the city. It will also cover how the Apex Accelerator supports businesses in accessing and winning contracts, offering tools and strategies to strengthen competitiveness in government contracting. Before we begin, just a quick note for our audience members. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat throughout the session, and we will ask them during the Q&A portion at the end of all the presentations. With that said, let's get started. Tonight, we have two exceptional leaders presenting to us. We have Ms. Carol Gonzalez Rivera, the Small and Emerging Business Program Administrator for the City of Omaha. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you for inviting me and having me here with you all.
You're welcome. It's good to see you. We also have Mr. Terry Morgan, the Apex Accelerator Consultant at the Nebraska Business Development Center. Welcome, Terry. It's good to see you.
Good evening. It's great to see you and everybody, and thanks for inviting me to present.
Wonderful. Let's begin by introducing our distinguished guest. Carol Gonzalez Rivera is the Small and Emerging Business Program Administrator for the City of Omaha. In her role, she enforces contract compliance and promotes the utilization of small businesses in city contracts. Over the past 6 years, Carol has helped entrepreneurs navigate the complex business ecosystem through training, consulting, and resource connections. Previously, she worked 4 years in the nonprofit sector as a business consultant, micro-business instructor, and program director. Carol is passionate about fostering diverse opportunities where small businesses thrive and communities flourish, creating sustainable growth for all stakeholders involved. We also have Terry Morgan, who has over 43 years of experience in construction, project management, land use planning, and contracting, supporting small businesses across all levels of government. He served over 21 years in the U.S. Air Force, 3 years with Pennington County, 3 years with Ferber Engineering, and over 16 years with the GSA. He's worked in multiple U.S. locations and overseas. Terry is actively involved in his community as a board member for a charity federation and as a volunteer Clifton Strengths coach. In his current role as an Apex consultant, he assists business owners in Douglas, Dodge, Saunders, and Washington counties to secure government contracts. Thank you both for being here with us this evening. Now that we've introduced our guest speakers, we'll transition into the program by inviting Carol to begin with an overview of the City of Omaha's business and Omaha's Small and Emerging Business Program. Over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Chelsea. So a lot of people know this program as the tier 1 and tier 2 business. It is basically the same as the SEB program, as we call it for short. This program has been around for over 10 years, and it all started after state abolished the affordable. I just kind of forgot, it went out of my mind. But basically, we cannot have a program that is gender or race-based. So we came out with the SEB program that supports individuals and businesses based on their income levels here in the city of Omaha. we wanted to make sure that every dollar that we're investing stays in the local economy. And so with the city having a lot of development projects, having to provide maintenance to our city through all of the different departments, a lot of that money that is invested in our parks and the infrastructure of the city, we get to work with a lot of contractors. We want to make sure that we are subcontracting and contracting those who already live in the city, so we can benefit our workforce and grow those small businesses. If we can go to the next slide, please. I think I can control it. So like I said before, there's different type of opportunities when it comes to contracting with the city of Omaha. All the different city departments have different necessities and different projects depending on the funding that we receive, and also the different areas in our city that are needing some type of maintenance or have some improvements. So on the picture here, you can see our parks. The Jean Leahy Mall is a very good example where there's a lot of different pieces that are needed in order to have that beautiful place where we can enjoy and have fun. We can see some of the concrete, the landscaping, people who were doing the playground installation. But behind all of that, even before construction, there's a designing phase. So we also, work with those companies that can do architectural work, engineering work, right before construction. Other areas in which small businesses are currently working with us is in janitorial services. We do have our libraries, the fire stations, police department, and of this way, we are making sure that those public spaces are being cleaned. There's a lot of opportunities for that in the small business portion. We have seasonal necessities now that the snow is coming up. So we need some help trying to get those streets cleaned. We always have construction, like already. Probably this year is the busiest with construction everywhere, but that's for us in order to improve mobility. So there's a lot of traffic control, a lot of concrete involved, seating, electrical work. And so just think about, what the city needs in order to make sure that our infrastructure is correctly done and that is serving the population as we need to. So all of those opportunities that I'm mentioning, concrete, janitorial services, landscaping, or the architectural piece, those things might, once they reach the $50,000 amount or higher, are going to be posted on our bidding platform. That is called the Ion Wave. So there's a QR code on the screen that takes you to Ion Wave. And for you to become a vendor, you need to register as a supplier there. It's pretty quick. You only have to provide the company information, some contact information, and select the commodity codes that your company performs. Of this way, every time that the city is posting a bid opportunity, you will receive an email invitation as long as you selected the right codes that match the bidding opportunities are being posted. So those bids are typically posted on Wednesdays. So you can always check Ion Wave, your account, and look at what's new, what's there, what are the dates to submit the proposal, what are the requirements for that project, and everything that you might need in order to prepare your proposal, prepare your bid, and submit it. So like I said before, the program has been around for over 10 years. It's actually now 15 years. And it was because we needed to make sure that we were supporting small businesses in some way, shape, or form. We are unable to actually use any of the other small business certifications that the federal government has available. For example, the minority-owned, veteran-owned, women-owned businesses, due to the state regulations. And so we came up with our own small business program, which is this one, the SEB program, based on income levels of the owners of the business and the actual business itself. So like I mentioned before, those opportunities are going to be posted on IronWave. Right here, you have a little snapshot of an actual bid opportunity. And so when you open those opportunities, you will see a ton of different tabs on top. Right at the beginning where it says event details, it will tell you if the project is including a small business utilization or participation. So the SEB program, if I go back a little bit, this is a city ordinance. So it's a requirement. It's something that we need to make sure that we are being compliant with when we have contracting opportunities. And so what happens before it gets posted to IronWave, I do sit down with city departments. The soliciting department will tell me what the project includes in terms of the scope of work, what's the internal estimate for that project, the timeline. So based on all of those factors and any kind of certifications, requirements from the small business or the business in general that is going to be performing that project, I do analyze the capacity of the small and emerging business program. So all of the small businesses that are already authorized in the program, I do have a very good sense of their capacity when it comes to their bonding lines, the number of employees, the type of work that they know how to perform. And so based on all of that information, I can determine if we have SEB capacity to establish an SEB set aside. So the way that you're going to find out if a project is requesting SEB participation is by looking at the event details tab. And there's a blue paragraph right there that will tell you this bid has an SEB reserve. So that means that we are requiring a small business participation on this specific project to find if this project is either fully or partially designated. You need to go and read the specifications, basically the project manual of the project, to find out what that percentage is. So when I say fully designated, it means that 100% of the project has to be performed by SEBs. So the entire scope of work has to be completed by small and emerging businesses. On the other side, the partially designated, it might be just a smaller percentage. Let's say maybe it's a 5% or 10%. It all depends on the scope of work, like I mentioned before. Sometimes we have very big and very complex projects. For example, right now we have 72nd Street, the bridge, right? So for small businesses, in order to do that type of work, it's going to be almost impossible just because they don't have the equipment, the machinery, they don't have bonding or enough workforce to handle that type of project, that type of size of project or complexity of project. But we know that they can execute specific portions of that project. Maybe there's some pavement that they can do. Maybe there's some landscaping around the area. So in that specific case, the general contractor is going to be required to subcontract small businesses from this program and meet the set aside that we have established. So in order to go and have you take advantage of those set asides, either fully or partially designated projects, you need to become an SEB. You need to be part of the program. And in order to qualify, you need to have a working office location in the metro statistical area of Omaha in Concept Blocks. So on this screen, you can see all of the different counties that that are eligible for this program. So as long as you have a working office location there, that means that you're eligible. However, we do classify businesses by their location with their either tier 1 or tier 2 businesses. The tier 1 businesses are those who have a working office location within this green color area. So you might ask yourself what that area represents. So that's the areas in our city with the highest levels of poverty, and we determine that with the census data. So as long as you have your working office location in that area, and also at least 20% of your employees reside in that same area, you will be considered a tier 1. If you're outside of the green color area, or you cannot prove that 20% of your employees reside within that area, that will be a tier 2 business. But both are SEBs. The only difference is tier 1 and tier 2 based on the location and the employees of your company. In addition to classifying as a tier 1 or tier 2 based on the location, we do classify businesses as ESBs or SBs, basically emerging businesses or small businesses. And that will be based on the gross receipts of the company. So if your company is a new, very like a startup company, and is making in the average gross receipts of the last 3 years 10% or less than the NAICS code that your business is trying to authorize with, that would be an ESB company. Anything between 10% to 25% of your NAICS code, comparing to the average gross receipts of the last 3 years, will be considered a small business. And I will kind of explain more about that. It might be confusing when you read it, so I will explain with a little example in my next slide. Besides doing those classifications, another 2 points that you need to show in order for eligibility is the net worth of your personal net worth, so individual net worth of yourself. So small businesses, we look at the size of the company, but also the owner's personal finances. So as long as your personal net worth is not more than $2 million and 47,000, you will be eligible. Basically, what we do in this case, we look at your personal financial statement, and we count any kind of assets that you have. We balance it out with your liabilities to find out what your personal net worth is. We do not count any type of business equity, primary car, or primary residence in your personal net worth. So you can exclude those. But if you have additional real estate properties, let's say that you have rentals, those will be included in this calculation. Business owners that have additional businesses to the one that they want to authorize as an ESB or SB, if they own them for 20% or more, they will have to also authorize those additional businesses. And the reason is that we want to work with the small business owners and small businesses. I could have very, very easily, maybe Warren Buffett could come to me and tell me, hey, Carol, I just opened a construction company. It's an emerging business. It hasn't performed anything. But on his own, on his personal, he has a ton of other businesses. He's a millionaire. Like, this is not the program for those type of individuals. We want to ensure that we're supporting and working with small business owners. So that's the reason, because we also assess other businesses if you own them for 20% or more. So this is my example. In order to see if your business is an emerging business or a small business, you will have to look at the NAICS code that you want to authorize with this program. So let's pretend that you're doing concrete, you're doing paving. There's a code for that, and you can find it in the Small Business Administration size standards table. And I can help you through that step. I know it can be a little challenging to know what your NAICS code is. And I know that Terry will talk more about it. But once you identify your code, we'll look at the size standards of that industry, and then we'll be comparing your gross receipts. So if you're making, let's say $10 million in your business for the last 3 years, that will be an SB, and a small business. So on the gross receipts on the average gross receipts of your business from the last 3 years, if you're making $10 million, that is an SB. If you're surpassing the threshold for the 25%, unfortunately, you won't be able to be in the program. Again, we have those thresholds because we want to ensure that we're working with the small businesses. So each code will have a different size standard. Right here, you only see like $45 million, but there's other codes like landscaping or janitorial services. It's like 19 million, things like that. So you want to know the advantages, right? It sounds like a very long process, like determining what kind of classification you will fall into, but that's the job that I will be doing. You don't have to worry about any of that. So the benefit of becoming an SCV is that you're going to be taking advantage of those set asides, and as a city, we have a goal, and we hope that at least 14% of contracted dollars will go to small businesses. So that's our annual goal. Of all of the contracts that we award, we are hoping that 14% is going to small businesses. And I will show you, how we have been performing over the last year, so you can have a dollar amount in your mind. Besides working with us, there's a lot of other opportunities outside of the city. A lot of times, other entities look at our SCV directory. So once you become an SCV, you will be listed in our directory, and other general contractors, OPPD, MUD, those entities are looking to work with small businesses, and they know that our list is legit. So a lot of the small businesses have benefited because they're only on the list. That means that they're vetted businesses. And so right now, as a city, we're making sure that other entities are leveraging this resources and this program. In addition to that, we do a lot of collaborations with other organizations like APETS, the REACH program, the Chamber, and other organizations that support small businesses, so we can guide you and help you navigate the complex ecosystem of bidding or understanding how to read blueprints and stuff like that. So you will have those free access to resources and guidance. So this is the dollar amount that I was talking about. Just last year, we were able to award almost $33 million to small businesses. That was 13%. We were so close to our goal, and this is the reason why I keep doing a lot of outreach. I need you to be in this program. If I don't have enough small businesses in the program, I am not able to establish set-asides because I don't have capacity. So if you join this program, we're hoping that number will go up, right? Now we'll have more people, more contractors. We're going to help them grow their capacity, and we will be able to award more money to small businesses. So what you have to do is just fill out an application. That's the QR code that will take you to OneBiz, which is the city new website for small businesses. And my program, there's a tiny section for it. We live within that application. So you can fill it out. It's pretty easy. It's a little long, but it's very easy, I promise. We can also sit down, meet in my office, and I can help you go through that application. The application process takes from 2 to 4 weeks. It all depends if you submitted all of the information that was requested. Otherwise, I will be asking tons of questions. And the authorization will last 3 years. So that's in order for us to kind of double check the growth of companies. Like I mentioned before, once the companies hit a specific threshold in their growth receipts, they're no longer eligible for the program. But that was the goal. The goal was to help them grow, and that's good. I know a lot of them, they want to stay in the program because there's really good benefits, but we achieve our goal when they're graduating from the program. Now, becoming an SCB doesn't mean that you're going to be winning projects. You have to do your homework. So my recommendation is that you get, bonding capacity. You need to go and get some bonding lines that can help you meet the requirements that the city has when it comes to bonding. Know how to estimate. So you're not underbidding or overbidding, and you're not competitively, in the market. You need to learn how to read blueprints, because determining your price is based on those blueprints and actually performing the work. Cash flow is very important. A lot of times you have to pay upfront, and you need to make sure that you have enough cash flow to continue operations. And two really great programs that can help contractors with all of this points and other type of challenges that might emerge is the APEX program and the REACH program. So you can find me in so many different ways. That's my office address, my email, my phone number, or you can also just go to OneBest. That's the QR code. Look at the eligibility points, and if you sign up for OneBest, you will be hearing from us, and we'll get an appointment so we can sit down and talk more about stuff. So that's it. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them and provide some clarification if needed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing your expertise and your insights for a lot of our small businesses and emerging programs as well. Actually, we will go ahead and shift into our next segment. We will turn it over to Terry, who will guide us from small business enrollment into the contracting opportunities available with the City of Omaha through his presentation. Over to you, Terry.
Good evening, everybody. And again, thank you for allowing us to present. Like I mentioned, my name is Terry Morgan. I work for the Apex Accelerator program. And we're going to cover, it says introductions to state government contracting. We're going to cover some of the city contracting. Carol covered quite a bit of it. So that's going to allow us to give you a little bit extra information that'll kind of lead into state opportunities also. The Apex Accelerator is part of the Nebraska Business Development Center, and within the Nebraska Development Center, we have 4 separate programs, separate centers. 3 of them, all of them help businesses start, grow, and develop. 3 of the programs provide direct client service, while one of us is a connection program. So the Small Business Development Center is partially funded by the Small Business Administration, and they will help you create a business plan, refine your business plan. They also help you put together your financials for upfront financing or expansion financing. We also have the innovation and technology. This primarily focuses on technologies, up and coming technologies involved in IT, agriculture, manufacturing. If you have a new and innovative process or product, they will work with you in developing that product, and then they also work with you to see if there's any available grants that are out there for you to assist in the funding. Again, it's not a fully granted program. The business also has to put up some capital, and again, that can also be through the individual's capital or you can work with SourceLink Nebraska and find some nonprofits or agencies that are no cost or low cost to help you get those finances in place. And then there's us, Apex Accelerator. We focus with the small businesses that want to do government business, government contracting, and that's at all levels. Again, we help companies take advantage of the billions of dollars that the government has available through the contracting opportunities. Consultants provide step-by-step guidance and support through the process so that you don't have to go it alone. We'll sit down with you and help you understand the process, help you get registered on the different platforms so that you can see the opportunities that are available, and then also we'll help you with how to bid on those opportunities. We also help you find access to the different resources that are available to help you grow. We help prepare a bid. Now, let me clarify on that. We don't do the bid for you. What we'll do is if you find an opportunity that you're interested in, we'll meet with you. We'll help you download all the documentation that you need to create a bid. We'll help you go over the statement of work and any of the requirements. You may not only have to show that you can perform that work, you may also have to submit your bid in a particular format. You may only have a couple pages to show past performance. You may only have a page to show the capabilities of your workers. And what we do is we go through that option. We highlight those areas that are important for you to become what they call a responsible bidder. Then once you get your bid ready, we'll meet with you. We're not really concerned with pricing. In fact, we don't want to see your pricing. What we're there is to make sure that you've covered and answered all those questions that are required in that opportunity. And then we also help you explore the markets. We can sit down with you and do the market research with you. We can show you how to do market research. We can direct you to those different areas that you can do basic market research to find out who's buying what you sell. This is our team. Our director is Veronica Daga. Myself and Harold Sargis, we handle the Omaha metropolitan area. Harold actually handles South Douglas County and Sarpy County. And as mentioned in my bio, I handle North Douglas County, Washington counties, Dodge and Saunders. Quentin, who's in our Lincoln office, handles all the small businesses in Lincoln. And then you can see pretty much southeastern Nebraska. Megan's in our Norfolk office, and she handles everybody in and around Norfolk and northeastern Nebraska. And then there's Chuck, who's in our Kearney office, and he handles pretty much the rest of Nebraska, central to western Nebraska. Our areas are based on population. So that's why Chuck's area is about 50,000 square miles versus Harold's and mine, which is a little bit more condensed. So why should you care about government contracting? The U.S. government's the largest buyer of goods and services. And federal contracts, again, you hear me talking about federal contracts, but this ties into state and local. Federal contracts are on average, about $745 billion annually. State and local governments also buy the same exact thing that the federal government buys. And they're a market that's sometimes overlooked. When everybody hears about government contracting, they automatically think about that federal contract. But there's a lot more, and actually some easier ways to bid opportunities that are at those lower levels of government. Some of your options, you can stay with your current commercial clients, your current businesses that you're doing work with, and we actually encourage you to stay with your existing clients that you have. You can also be a subcontractor to a prime contractor. You can sell to state and local government, which we'll cover a little bit more. And then you sell, I'll briefly cover about selling to the federal government. Road one, stay in the private sector. Again, like you said, we will very rarely tell you to stop or move away from your current clients that you have that are in the private sector. In fact, we highly encourage that you grow that business until you're well established, and then you look at moving on to the different levels of government contracting. Some of the pros for staying in the private sector: payments a little bit faster, there are fewer rules, you're familiar with your competitors and your clients. Some of the cons: limited growth, there's definitely a lot more competition. And then there's also rate pressure. Because there's so much competition, there's pressure for you to keep your rates and your prices a little bit lower than what you could possibly get going into some of those other markets. Subcontract to a prime. In fact, when I worked for the federal government, that was a way that I suggested a lot of small businesses that were looking on moving, is to find those prime contractors and offer yourself to become a subcontract. That gets you familiar with working in the government. You get exposed to some of the paperwork, and you also get exposed to the working conditions and some of the standards that the different agencies are going to expect. The pros: again, there's no bonding requirement at the subcontracting level. You don't have to have the big back office needs. You learn how that system works. And it also could be a gateway to larger projects. There are opportunities or projects that come up that they don't necessarily need the prime contractor. It may be an opportunity that's strictly landscaping or strictly painting or strictly electrical. And it's more cost effective to go to that small businesses that specializes in that versus going to a general contractor and paying the markups that they might have. Some of the cons: less control. Some of the prime contractors may make you sign a non-compete clause, which means that you can't compete against them in that particular market. And you'll get stuck waiting for the payments based on what was established in that original contract with the prime. It could be monthly payments, it could be multiple payments, or you could have to wait till the very end of the project when it's completed to get paid. So that's something you also need to consider. Do you have the financial backing to cover the costs of that work until you get paid? And one of the benefits is the Small Business Development Center can help you figure that out. Road 3, state and local government. There's 500 plus cities and villages in Nebraska. There's 93 counties. There's also the public schools, utilities, the colleges, and a few other different agencies. Here's some examples of those agencies. State of Nebraska has their own purchasing bureau. Department of Transportation, Game and Parks. The cities and counties: you got the city of Omaha and Douglas County. You got the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County. Depending on how far you want to go, you can go South Sioux City, you can go to Norfolk, and then each of the different counties also have a purchasing agents. Sometimes a lot of things that are overlooked are right here. The universities, the educational institutions, and those utilities. Metro MUD has their own section to purchase products and services. OPPD, Nebraska Public Power, and the Lincoln Electric System. Federal contracting, I'll briefly cover that. Some of the big players are General Services Administration. They have two parts. They have the part that supports the public buildings, which are the federal buildings, and the federal leases throughout the different states. The Department of Defense, which is probably the biggest purchaser of products and services. USDA and VA. In order to get these contracts, you have to be registered in SAMGov. One of the pros or one of the cons is there definitely a lot more rules. However, there could be bigger payoffs. No matter what level of government contracting you're looking at, you need to have your 5 starter questions that you start asking the agencies. How do I buy from you? Do you do strictly formal bids on a platform such as IonWave, SAM.gov? Do you do purchase cards, which is another name for credit cards? Do you do based on the project threshold? Can you go directly to the small business without publicly displaying it, or are there other methods of bidding? Do you have a platform? Do I need to contact you on a daily basis? Do you post your bids? How often do you buy what I sell? Do you buy on a monthly basis, semi-annually, quarterly? Where are your bids posted? I kind of tied that in with that up one. Depending on the monetary threshold, again, they can go directly to the contractor or small business. But if they don't know you're out there, then they can't find you. You can't get that opportunity. There's also on some of those mid-level thresholds, they may not have to, the agency may not have to post that on those formal bid platforms. So if it's between 15,000 and say 50,000, what they can do is they can actually go out to 3 contractors that they know, get competitive bids. They can do a sole source. They can, as in the federal government as an example, you post the solicitation in a public place, and then you can actually email or go directly to those small businesses. But again, if that purchasing agent or that contracting officer doesn't know you exist, doesn't have your contact information, they're not going to be able to get that information out to you. How do I register as a vendor with you? And do you notify your vendors of new opportunities? Is it something that you have to go to their website on a daily or weekly basis? Do you have the ability to basically set up to where you get contacted by email on the new opportunities that come up? That's something that each agency does differently. There are some similarities, but you have to find out by actually talking to that purchasing agency, working with us. And again, I'll cover that in another slide, that you don't have to go this out alone, but you need to reach out and find out who's buying you, who's that point of contact that you can ask questions to. You can reach out and talk to them either by email, by phone, or hopefully you can meet them personally at one of the industry engagements. Common mistakes to avoid is waiting for that perfect opportunity. It doesn't exist. Not showing up or following up. So not showing up is more in reference to if for that particular bid opportunity, they're going to have a meeting, they're going to have a pre-bid visit. Showing up to that actually will give you additional information. And then it also shows to that purchasing agent or that contracting officer that you have intent, that you're very interested in supplying a bid. Following up, that's throughout the whole entire process. That means when you made that initial, say you meet a contracting officer or a purchasing agent at an industry engagement, meet the buyers, one of these activities that we partner with, you give them your business card, you give them your capability statement, and you don't hear from them, or they give you your card, you need to follow up. You need to reach out to them again, let them know that you're out there, you're available. Focusing only on price and not value, you need to focus on both. The days of doing that underbidding or providing that low price and getting awarded, that's going away. A lot of opportunities are lowest price technically acceptable, which means they are looking at price, but you also have to prove that you can complete or perform what you're being asked to do. We've heard those rumors where small businesses have underbid everybody, and then they try to get the price up through a modification, or they just do a lower price, underbid everybody to get their foot in the door. That's not a good sound practice, because in order for you to keep bidding on opportunities, you have to make a profit. If you don't make a profit and you keep bidding these opportunities at the low price, and you're not making any money to be sustainable, you're eventually going to go out of business. Now, not only have you hurt yourself, but actually the government honestly does not like seeing that, because now they have to find another small business that they can go to perform that work. And then registering and never updating your information. When you register on these platforms. If your contact information changes, if anything changes, you need to update that as soon as possible. What's next? Talk to Apex Accelerators after the session. My contact information will be on that end slide. Reach out to us, register with us as a client. We'd be happy to work with you. Again, get your registrations in place. To register for these opportunities, it doesn't cost you a thing. It costs you a little bit of time, but it doesn't cost you any money. Ask one of the agencies that you're interested in working with your 5 starter questions. So the contacts within Douglas County or City of Omaha, either email them and reach out some questions, contact them by phone. If you see them at an industry engagement or a Meet the Buyers event, walk up, introduce yourself, and just ask them those 5 questions. And again, you don't have to go it alone. That's why Apex Accelerator is here to help you through those different processes. I'm going to quickly cover, this shows the state platform. All the bidding platforms are very, very similar. Some of them have a few different advantages, but pretty much how you find the bids, the fact that you go to the site to look for the bids, you have to register the site as a vendor. I will compliment the platform that Douglas County and City of Omaha uses. I think IonWave is a very, very good platform. It's really easy to get in there and register compared to the other sites. It's very good at notifying you based on what you selected as the services that you perform. And one of the advantages is when you go in and you would register for Douglas County and the City of Omaha, it also allows you to go back in there and register with 5 other agencies within Nebraska. You can also register with the City of Council Bluffs in Iowa, and then there's other cities within Council Bluffs. And then depending on how wide of a reach you want to go, there's other states. Not every city and not every state uses it, but there are a lot more opportunities that you can just register. Be aware, though, that some of those, not in the state of Nebraska, but we have heard that state of Texas, some of the cities and counties use a third party to help them with the IonWave, and there could be fees involved with that. We're lucky here in the state of Nebraska, there are no fees involved in any of the bid opportunities that we refer you to or help you get set up with. Again, for the state of Nebraska, here's their website. And the 2 buttons that you want to focus on, and I'll kind of expand a little bit, is bid opportunities and vendor information. Again, here's a basic graph on how to be for the state of Nebraska, but it also fits every other platform. It's exactly pretty much the same process working with Douglas County or City of Omaha. You visit the website, you register as a vendor, you find those bid opportunities, you prepare and submit a response, contracts awarded, and then basically it says purchase orders, but contract awarded and purchase orders are basically the same thing. State of Nebraska starts off with the vendor concierge. It's an online little information start sheet that you type in to get your basic information in there. And then you download these forms and you fill them out and email them. Again, that's the one benefit with the system that the City of Omaha and Douglas County uses, is all that is done on one platform. Getting registered, finding where the bid opportunities are. Once you found that bid opportunity, clicking on the tabs to download those required documents. Questions are asked or answered at that same platform. Typing in your prices. They already have the line items broken out, so you type in your prices that way. And then the next tab, you upload all those documents that are required as a responsible bidder. And then you click on the next tab. You click on a statement saying that everything's factual and truthful, and you submit your bid. The state of Nebraska Similar, but not as easy. Again, this is that vendor application. You'll type in the basic information. The next thing that they do is they'll ask you for the NIGP code. The NIGP code is very similar to the NAICS code. The NAICS code is the North American Industry Classification System. What it is, it's a 6-digit number that aligns with the general category of what industry that you are in. You can have multiple NAICS codes depending on what you do. The NIGP is a lower level classification system that a lot of state, counties, and cities use. On this, if this is a basic Excel sheet, what you'll have to do is you find the general classification, you click on that, you click on the open button, and then you go in there and click on some of those subcategories. And then once that's completed, you'll email that to the state of Nebraska. Here's what you need to do. You have to fill out that vendor application that we just went over. You have to do a W-9, and then you have to do a voided check or a bank statement. Again, I'm going to brag on the system that the city in Douglas does. All this stuff is taken care of in that platform. You fill out a page that essentially is your W-9, and all this information is done on that one platform. And again, you don't have to go alone. We're more than happy to sit down with you and help you get registered in those different platforms that are available. Again, this is an example. It was very similar to what Carol showed when she gave an example of where the bids were located for the city of Omaha. This is for the state of Nebraska, the purchasing agent. It tells you a description. It's highlighted in blue, so it's hyperlinked so that you can click on that and find more detailed information. If it's available, that NIGP code will be in there. Here it talks about the opening date, the type of, whether it's an invitation for bid, a request for proposal, or request for quote. Exactly, it's 3 different terms, but exactly the same thing. The agency wants to buy something from you. The buyer's information, the solicitation number, the agency that's buying it. The one thing that I like about the platform that Douglas County and the city of Omaha uses it actually gives you a countdown of how many days left you have to submit that bid. That is extremely helpful. This is another Nebraska site. It's for Department of Transportation. You go to their website. You go to the business center, you click on procurement. That page opens up to where if you have commodities, if you're doing more of supplies, materials, or parts, you'd look at the commodities. If you're looking at services or construction related, you go to services. Here they have their point of contacts who are the different buyers. You can subscribe to email updates. And then here's an example of how DOT, again, if you notice, all the examples are very similar. They'll have the item number or the bid number. If you noticed when Carol showed their example, they have a number that's assigned to that bid opportunity. It'll give you a description. It'll give you who the buyer is. When the date was posted, that's when it was open for it to take bids. And then here is the closing date. As an example on here, you notice that this is 10/30/2025 at 3 p.m. That 3 p.m. is very, very important. If you would submit a bid at 3:01, it's not going to be accepted. So you need to pay attention if there's a date limit and find out. That's part of some of that information. It's either stated on this site or it's stated in those bid documents. It will tell you when that bid needs to be emailed. Don't wait till the last minute. Murphy's Law, if something's going to go wrong, it will happen. So get your bid prepared and get it emailed to that agency well ahead of time. Again, government contracting, consulting, training, and information services are available to you at no cost. And the reason is because we're partially funded. Apex is partially funded by the Department of Defense Office of Small Business Utilization. The Small Business Development Center is partially funded by SBA. So that allows us to provide our services to you at no cost. Visit us online. Contact your local Apex consultant, depending on where you're at. If you don't know, again, we have plenty of people here that will help you assign. Again, if you're in the Omaha metropolitan area, it's either going to be myself or Harold Sargis. This is our website to take a look at, the Nebraska Business Development Center. Not only do we talk about the different agencies, we do spotlights of the different businesses that we've worked with and kind of their success story. We also provide different training events, and you can go to these. We recommend that you go and get registered with us because it's easier to track, and then you'll get access to this website. Again, for our training, we provide that to you at no cost. We also partner with a couple of different agencies that we can provide you additional training, and we have some coupon codes that we can provide you that basically it allows you to have no cost training. Again, this is a good time if we have time for any questions. Here's my contact information. And again, here's Harold's contact information. Again, if you'd like a copy of these slides, just send a request to Chelsea and she'll let us know, and then we'll provide those slides to you. Again, thank you for letting me present, and that's all I have.
Yes, thank you so much, Terry, for your informative presentation. Thank you so much, Carol, as well, for your presentation. We are at the point where we may not be able to take questions. So if you do have questions, please send them to the Midlands African Chamber email, info@midlandsafricanchamber.com, and we will be sure to get it to Terry and or Carol. So I would actually like to say thank you for your insights. They were incredibly valuable to our participants as they grow and they develop their businesses. Before we close, I would like to just point out a few reminders to our audience members. Our Gratitude Gala will be this Saturday, November 22nd, with registration opening at 5:30 at MCC's Institute for Culinary Arts, Building 22. Make sure you get your tickets if you haven't already, because ticket sales end tonight. Remember, ticket sales end. Apologies for that. I think we had some technical difficulties. But as I was saying, we have a lot of events coming up and a lot of announcements. Our Pitch Black process has already started and it's in full gear. So applications will be closing on Friday, December 5th. If you know of any entrepreneurs, please have them visit wepitchblack.com to submit their application. And the Mac Accelerator cohort is in full swing. We are actually now accepting applications for our 7th cohort. These applications end December 31st. You can visit our website, midlandsafricanchamber.com, to submit your applications. Our holiday party and Umoja Forum is upcoming, and it will focus on unity. It will be held on Friday, December 5th, at 5 p.m. at the African Cocktail Lounge. We will also be hosting our next Mission and Meals event on Wednesday, December 10th at 11:30 a.m. virtually on Facebook. We also will be hosting our next Power Hour on Thursday, December 18th at 5:30 p.m. So please stay tuned for more of our events, more announcements from MAC, and everything. Thank you to our audience for joining us for this Power Hour Business Development virtual live stream presented by Google. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about MAC, please visit our website at www.midlandsafricanchamber.com. Have a great evening, and remember, stay informed, get inspired. Bye, everybody.